Shabbos Kodesh Parashat Shmini Shnas Tov Shian Pei Beis. When a person is trying to sail a ship in the open seas, it's very hard for him to be able to navigate the ship. If it's during the day, for example, so he can see according to the sun in which direction he needs to go, in which direction he needs to travel. But if he's in the dark nights, out in the sea, how does he know in which direction he should be traveling in? So that is what it's called by the sailors celestial navigation. Then the darkest nights they can look up in the skies and they can see the map of the stars, of the galaxies above. And they will know this star is in the west, this star is in the south, and they can know which direction is north. And that's how they will follow the direction according to the map of the stars that they see in the dark skies. This is the same idea, says the Medrash, Tzadikim shebechol doir elu hakoichovim, in Bereshis. What does it mean? That when we have the Beis HaMikdash, we knew in which direction to go. We had the sun. It was illuminating our way. We knew where. We had the Sanhedrin in the Beis HaMikdash. There was the Novi. There was the Urim V'Tumim, and through the Beis HaMikdash and the Nevi'im, we were able to know and be navigated to know what way, in which direction to lead our lives. But we're in the dark seas, in the dark Golus. We don't have the Beis HaMikdash, we don't have the sun to illuminate our way. What do we have? The Koichovim, the celestial navigation, the tzaddikim shebechol doir. We're able to go to the tzaddikim of the generation and we're able to ask for advice, ask them for a blessing, and they will direct us in our derech and avodas Hashem, and direct us in our way and what we should follow in our lives. These are the tzaddikim. Even in the dark nights of the Golus, we always knew we can look up at the stars, look at the tzaddikim, and we're able to come to Rehov Rashbam 23, the great tzaddik, the holy Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzaddik Livrocha. And this is what we feel now. We feel now it's like the sailor in the ship on the dark nights. When he looks up at the sky, he doesn't anymore be able to see his star. The star not able to see, it's covered, it's distanced now, we're not able to see the star. That's how we feel now after the Petira of Moron Sarah Torah Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodesh Livrocha, that now we don't anymore have Rehov Rashbam 23 to go and ask advice, to go to ask for a bracha, in which direction we should go. And this is how we feel the loneliness of the Golus, the darkness of the Golus. It was felt throughout the world, throughout the Jewish world. In the entire world, they felt this loss, that we don't anymore have this light illuminated in the darkness of the Golus, and able to teach us the way and where we should follow and to guide us on our ways in life. Because the light of the Torah, Moira Rabboisai says Avod Ram, is so great. That's why we say the brocha of Ahava Rabbo after Yoitza Mo'iros. The brocha in Shachris Yoitza Mo'iros describes the lights of the universe, the physical lights, the lights of the sun, the moon, of the stars. We wake up in the morning and we see the bright light of the sun, and we say to Hashem, Yoitzer oiru voire choshech, Yoitzer voire sakoir, Baruch Ato Hashem, Yoitzer HaMo'iros, who created the great light to illuminate the world. But then there's an even greater light. The bracha follows afterwards is Ahavo Rabu Aftonu Hashem Elokeinu Chemlo Gedoylo Viseiro, and the bracha of Torah. Torah is such a great light that somebody is connected to the Torah. Somebody who is immersed in the chokhmas of Torah, the kedushas of Torah, the tahara, the purity of the Torah. He connects to a light that you say Oira Gonus, which a hidden light which a person is able to see. You can see we're able to see in the house of Rehov Rashbam 23, from one side of the world to the other. When you entered his house, you knew you were speaking to somebody who sees a higher sefer, the light of the Torah, the Lamed Vov, Because the Oira Gonus in the world was here for 36 hours. And the 36 Mesechtas in Shas, which is the Oira Gonus, is hidden in the Shas, in the Torah, which is 36 Mesechtas of the Talmud Bavli. As well, it's written 36 times Oir in the Torah. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky wrote 36 books in the Torah. Lamed Vov Sforim. I was in Lederman, and on his seat you see piles and piles of Sforim. This spans the entire Torah. Shoina Halachos, a sikkum on the Halachos of the Mishnah Brura with the Chazon Ish. The Derech Emunah, which brings on every Halach of the Rambam and Seder Zroim, with such a iyun, such a hekef, Tamad the Kro. And you learn these forum, you see somebody who mastered the entire Torah, Kol HaTorah Kula Munach B'Yodai. Just as an example, I was speaking over with some friends. If you take a look at Talmud the Kro in Parashat Noach, where they discusses a Mabit. The Mabit says that a person doesn't name a child with a name that it was named before Avram Avinu. There was only to name children from Avram Avinu and down, not higher than Avram Avinu. Let's say Odom, Noach, Cain, Hevel, these names. That's what Mabit says. So Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky said, I looked in the Torah, I was able to find 33 places where names of Yidden with names before Avram Avinu. And he goes around looking at the recommendations to Sephorim which were written hundreds of years ago. And there was a Rav called Reb Moshe ben Odom, and a Yerushalmi, and a Bavli, and a Mechilta. Rabbonim, 33 names of Rabbonim around the entire encyclopedia of the whole Torah. And he was able to name 33 like this, Rabbonim, who they were named with names before Avram Avinu. This is a God. When we entered the room, you felt in Rehov Rashbam, you felt you're now in the presence of a person who it's Ksar HaTorah, Kol HaTorah Po Munach Lefanecha, the whole Torah, and what he says to you and what he answered you, the advice he gave you is coming from the Torah itself, coming from the Ribono Shel Olam, the Torah itself, the Oira Gonus of the Torah, which was able to see Misoifo Olam Va'ad Soifoi. This is a story I heard from the Bnei Bayis. Said the story that there was a man who came to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. His father was very not well, and they wanted to add a name to his father. So he asked Reb Chaim, what name should I add? So Reb Chaim said, what's the name? He said, Moshe ben Sora. Let's say, Moshe ben Sora. So he said, add the name add the name Antiochus. He says, Antiochus? So he said, Antiochus, and that's it. So the man walks out, and he said, I'm going to tell my father, you're going to be called Antiochus. So he told the grandson of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, maybe Reb Chaim was joking, let's go back in. So the grandson went back in, said, look, the man came to add a name for his father. What should he name to Moshe? Antiochus isn't a good, he doesn't want to call his father Antiochus. He says, call him Achashverosh. And that was it. There was nothing to speak. Antiochus or Achashverosh, choose one of them. So this man comes home and he tells his father, look, my dear father, I went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, but he told me a name who he can choose, or Antiochus or Achashverosh. So the man turned white. And he said, this man, Reb Chaim, he knows. So what does he know? Said, I never really converted to Judaism. I never really converted. And so the name is not the name of a Jew. And this is what Reb Chaim was able to know. Able to know with people that came to him, you knew that he understood. You knew that he knew. Gewusst. I remember myself as well, that now with the corona, people didn't know open schools, no open schools. We Pashut used to wait at night, and the Menahel of the Cheder, Rav Karelinstein, would call us on the phone with a message, and he would say to us, Reb Chaim said tomorrow we're opening. Reb Chaim said tomorrow we're closing. Everything was by Reb Chaim Kanievsky, all the schools. Everyone was following the direction of Chaim Kanievsky. And we knew what he said, I don't have what to worry about. Remember the same as was at the time with the vaccines, when everyone was scared to take the vaccines. now wanted to take the vaccine, but till it was clear that Reb Chaim said to take the vaccines, then there were queues. Everyone was taking the vaccines. Because we knew, Reb Kanievsky said, this is how we brought up for 40 years. Everything sent a shliach, people were unable to come to Reb Chaim. They sent messages to Reb Chaim and they said, please ask Reb Chaim this, ask Reb Chaim. This is where we grew up, and now we feel the loss. The celestial navigation, the tzaddikim shebechol doir, the kirchovim, this light, this special light, I won't say was extinguished, chas v'sholem, but the light was covered from us now, and it's distanced from us, and we're not able to have that connection, the accessibility that we had, to have it as well now. This and brings as well to mind what the holy Ramatzio, Hashem Yarech, Yom of Shnoisav, Ramatzio Solomon, the Mashkiach of Lakewood, said by the hesped of Harav Shach. He says that the Misas Tzadikim is doima to three things. Yerushalmi in Yuma says as follows: that the Misas Tzadikim is doima, gives an atonement like Yom Kippur, since it's mentioned in the Torah, Vayhi Achrei Moshe B'nei Aharon, after the two children of Aaron were nifta, and then it brings the parasha of Yom Kippur. So like Yom Kippur brings an atonement, same to Misas Tzadikim bring an atonement. Then the Yerushalmi goes on, as well as gives a tahara, purity, like Pora Adumo. The like Pora Adumo brings a purity to a person who was impure. Same too, Misas Tzadik purifies a generation. And then it says that it's kosher, it is a difficult, the Misas Tzadikim to the Ribono Shel Olam, to us, like the time when they broke the luchos. When Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchos, when Am Yisrael served the Egel, the same too, the Misas Tzadikim is like the breaking of the luchos. So Ramatzio, when he was Maspid Rav Shach, asked, so I understand the first two, that it brings an atonement and a purity, the Misas Tzadik, because when you hear about the life of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, you hear the life, how he took the learning and avodas Hashem and used every minute of learning. So a person is mitchazek. It gives you back in your own life to be mitchazek in your life, your own avodas Hashem, how you can improve your own avodas Hashem and go in the way of the God of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. But the question is, how do you as well learn in your the nishtabra luchos, like the breaking of the luchos? How is that considered? Do we learn from this that the Misas Tzadikim is like the breaking of the luchos? Masio said as follows: before Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the luchos, before he broke it, Am Yisrael in another minute could have received kol haTorah kulo. They could have had the luchos. It was in mamash by them, and then boom, the luchos smashed. They didn't deserve to have the luchos. So they lost the opportunity of having Torah by them and learning the accessibility and opportunity of receiving kol haTorah kulo. So Ramatzio said the same thing. When a tzaddik dies, suddenly we realize how much opportunity was missed. How much we could have used so much more the tzaddik, to have been closer to the tzaddik, to have asked him more, to have done this. We took it for granted. Rav Chaim Kanievsky is in Bnei Brak, Rehov Rashbam 23. We took it for granted. Suddenly he's nifter. Suddenly he's not amongst us. And we think, oy, how much we could have learned to more. How much the shtabra luchas, the luchas is broken and we can't anymore learn. But Baruch Hashem, we have, like we said earlier, the powers of Sforim, great Sforim of Chaim Kanievsky, Orchos Yoisha on Musa, the Seder Zroim, Derech Emunah, on Alocha, Shoyna Alochos, so many Alochos, so many Sforim, 36 Sforim he brought out. And may we be Zoicha to learn from his Torah, share his Torah, go in his ways, and just to say one vort in this week's Parashat to continue, if it's possible, bear with me, one vort for Dubna Magid that he said They said in the Medrash that the two sons of Aharon that were nifter as well. This week's parasha says, it said in this week's parasha as well, it says, V'yifku b'achecha b'nei Yisrael, yifku es asreifa shesoraf Hashem, mamush kol beis Yisrael. This whole week, all of the nation of Yisrael were crying es asreifa shesoraf Hashem, of the great tragedy. It was in this week's parasha Shmini. It's a most amazing thing. We can feel that pasuk this week, Tov Shem Pei Beis. But it says in the Medrash, the Kroivay Kodesh, I mean, not through Moshe, not through Aharon, all the Korbanos, the holiness of the Beis HaMikdash came through. How was Mitkadesh the Beis HaMikdash? Through the two sons of Aharon that were nifter. And the question is, ask the Holy Doben and Magid, that the question is, that Dafka, the two sons of Aharon that were nifter, they were Mekadesh the Beis HaMikdash. The whole avodas Chanukah Sabayis of the Beis Hamikdash was through the Misa, the Petira of the two sons of Aharon. So Dubin Magid says in his way, most beautiful moshel. He said there was once a king who discovered the great wealth in his kingdom, and he decided to make his country the most advanced, sophisticated, luxurious country in the world. Maybe something like you would say Dubai nowadays. They discovered oil and they built binyunim and they made with the greatest luxury, sophistication, modernization, everything you can think of. In the middle of a desert, this king did to make it the most pe'er v'hadar, a country where no one will lack anything. And there would be fields of fruits and vegetation and beautiful. But then, after everything was built and people moved there, it was the most amazing city, they came to the king and said, there is no doctor in the city. What are we going to do if somebody's not well? You have to have a doctor, somebody who knows about medicines. He said, you're right. And he sent a messenger to the greatest medical school in Boston, and he asked them, I want the best doctor that will know on every machla, on every tsar, on every pain, he will know how to heal every single medicine. He will have a cure to every ailment. And he found such a doctor, and he came with his whole laboratory. He came with his ganze laboratory with all the medication, everything he got. He brought a whole shipload of containers he brought, and he set up his practice over there in this new luxurious city. But they're looking now for somebody who's not well. There's a doctor now. And a man came and said, Koev li harosh, my head, I got pain in my head, maybe you can cure me. Oh, and he took in his first patient. Everyone was so jealous of this first patient. He getting the best medical care they could have wished for. And then the man brings out this medicine and this medicine. He opens his laboratory and he's running around the whole laboratory, upstairs, downstairs and everything. And then 3 days later the man dies. The patient dies, his first patient. And the king calls him in, the doctor, and says, tell me, you're serious what you did? And he said, I did if you knew he's anyway going to die, then why did you invest so much medication and care to this man? So he said, I'll explain to you. When I came to your country, I realized people were saying as follows. Now we have the best doctor that can take care of us. We don't have to watch our health. We can eat what we want. We don't have to exercise. We can sit on the couch and eat chips. We don't need to do, because we don't have to worry anymore. There's a doctor in town. We can drink and eat what we want. So I realized that by me coming to the town, I'm killing more people that I'll be saving. By people neglecting their health, then I will cause more death than people that can actually save. So he said the same thing. So what did I do? When this man came, I brought out all my medicine and I was showing people that I'm trying my hardest and I still can't save him. So now people will rely on me. People will take care of their health. And if they need medicine, then they will come to me and I will try to cure them. Same too. When we had the Torah, when the Torah first was given to Am Yisrael, this was like this great city. The Torah gives bracha and blessing and prosperity to a person. And then we had a kind of hospital, the Beis HaMikdash. If somebody did an Aveira, if somebody's in a tzara, you brought to Beis HaMikdash, was a place to bring a cure, a spiritual cure, physical cure, and the doctor would be the Kohen. The Kohen Gadol was the head doctor. But then, after the Beis HaMikdash, the Chanukas HaBayis, there's a big danger. People will now say, we have a Beis HaMikdash. Heichel Hashem Heimo. We have a Heichel Hashem. We can now go on with our lives. If something happens, maximum, I'll take a korban to the Beis HaMikdash. So Dafka in the Beis HaMikdash, in front of the Kohen HaGadol, the two children of Aharon were nifta, not of Avihu. And then it showed Am Yisrael that with Hashem Yerachim, there's sometimes even the korbanos and the Kohen Gadol is not able to cure this ailment. And this gave a pacha to Am Yisrael. They have to take care of themselves, not neglect their spirituality. And if they did Chas v'Shon Aveh, they would bring the korban to the Beis HaMikdash. May we be Zoicha Baruch Beis Hashem to share with each other only simchas, only gezint, only get Bezras Hashem, Shenishpa v'Nispasa b'Suras Toivas Yeshuas v'Nechumas.